Welcome to Radicalize Me. If you like what I do here, please throw me a good old thumbs up, comment, sub, whatever you got. And if you're able, I'd very much appreciate you keeping the channel going by subscribing on Patreon. This goofy little silly image went semi-viral on Twitter recently, and I wanted to make a short little video talking about some of its inherent misconceptions. I don't make a lot of short videos on this channel. I enjoy making long, deep dive video essays, which is why I often go obscenely long without putting out a video. But I saw a teachable moment here, and I think we can have some fun with it. Also, if you're a fan of the long, in-depth videos, don't worry, one is on the way. So let's examine what's happening in this image. We've got this fella, this young whippersnapper, sitting outside his house, presumably, with a spread of Halloween candy. There's a big cooler with all these king-size Kit Kats, Snickers, all the best stuff on top, labeled capitalism, and a little basket with a bunch of little bullshit candies off to the side labeled socialism. So you can already see where this is going. He's making the argument that under capitalism, you get cool stuff and you get as much as you want. And under socialism, you get nothing.
You get nothing!
This is, of course, wrong, but I'm going to be as charitable as I can here because I've been told I can be a bit of a dick in these videos, and that's not entirely untrue. So I will say I don't hold it against this guy, and I'll try not to make this about him. Disinformation about socialism is everywhere, especially in the US, and consequently, many people don't understand what it really is. I myself didn't even really know what socialism was for most of my life. It's amazing what a little reading will do. So what's wrong with the candy metaphor here? For starters, this is a Halloween thing, right? So I assume he's not charging anyone for any of the candy. So that kind of breaks down right away. If this was a commerce situation, if he was selling it, patrons would have to pay for the candy under both systems, in most cases. You'd just pay a more fair price under socialism with an upper limit instead of it being subject to price gouging or prices so low that they rob the workers. Oh, and the chocolate wouldn't be harvested by child slaves, which is kind of neat. But let's look a little closer at these signs. Under capitalism, it says abundant choices, king size, eat until you're full. While under socialism, it says meh, fun size, and honestly, you'll be hungry. I'll take these one by one, or two by two, however you see it. Abundant choices versus meh. Now, there are 3 types of candy on the capitalism side. And that's fine. It's a good amount. But abundant is a strong term, right? We can't see inside the socialism basket very well, but it looks like it was filled from like a fun size variety pack kind of thing, right? And if that's true, there's probably more choices in the basket, even if they're small, Where's my king size 3 Musketeers or Butterfinger or M&Ms? Or damn, where's anything besides chocolate, right? I'm a gummy guy. Let's have some Sour Patch Kids, some Swedish Fish, some Mike and Ike. The 3 options he does have are fairly distinct. But even so, Twix and Kit Kats are both chocolate-covered wafer bars, and Snickers is just a candy bar with peanuts. So we're just not exactly brimming with variety, if that's going to be the argument. Additionally, some people on Twitter pointed out that both Twix and Snickers are made by the Mars company, and Kit Kat is from Nestle. That's 2 companies offering 3 fairly similar products. Even if there were more options in this picture, most of the candy products you could think of are from one of these 2 companies. This point reminds me of another somewhat recent viral tweet where a guy tried to pull a gotcha on socialism. This one, where a guy went to a grocery store in Cuba and showed us how sad it is that they apparently only have one kind of all these different products. First of all, he has 4 close-cropped photos that really don't show us that much. And second, and I feel like this is obvious, He's showing us fully stocked shelves at a Cuban store. And this was when US stores had tons of shortages because of the pandemic, which we still do in late October 2021 as I write this. And that's weird because I've been told a million times in my life that every single person in every socialist country just starves to death. It's wild that Cuba still somehow has people in it after 63 years of revolutionary government rule. King size versus fun size. This one is interesting. I don't think any culture or economic system is immune from feasting on tons of food when possible, right? Everyone loves to do that. But I do think that these sort of giant individual portions of one food item are kind of an American thing, especially today. You know, we love giant burgers, giant pizzas, giant steaks, giant sodas. The list goes on. But I think his point is that in addition to not enough options, socialist countries just don't have enough food in general. I'll be fair and say this has been true at times, right? This idea doesn't come from nowhere, but a lot, not all, but a lot of those resulted from blockades and sanctions against these countries, usually led by the US. Some of it was from failure of leadership. That happens everywhere. You know, I don't know if the Chinese famine under Mao was just from sanctions, for instance, you know. But there's really nothing about socialism or even the state capitalist attempts at socialism that we call socialism that just automatically makes a country collapse into famine and chaos. The US has terrible problems with hunger for tens of millions and hundreds of thousands of unhoused people while homes sit empty. Yet the same people who rail against socialism because of apparent hunger in Cuba or China, both of which are at near zero homelessness, by the way, would never blame capitalism for the suffering people face in the US, because we've had it beaten into our heads for decades that we have a meritocracy, and any hardship you face is your own fault for not working harder. But here's the thing, capitalism does have inequality built into it. Capitalists need a hungry, insecure working class. Always have, always will. And they need to underpay those workers. Because why would you toil your life away making someone else rich without the threat of starvation? Eat until you're full versus you'll be hungry. Leaving aside the inadequate nutritional value of king-sized candy, I have to ask, who is he talking about? Who gets to eat until they're full? When people say things like this, they're either denying that people go hungry in America, or, like we talked about a minute ago, they just don't count it against capitalism because they consider it the fault of the hungry person. And also, like we already talked about, famine is not a feature of socialism, especially when it's not authoritarian. Look to Evo Morales of Bolivia, Salvador Allende of Chile, and Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso for a few examples. Hunger, and poverty in general for that matter, is a policy failure. That's not just a slogan. Sanctions are policy. Someone decided to do that. So yeah, you might go hungry under socialism because the US will prevent you from trading with the rest of the world, something every country on Earth relies on. The ongoing massive transfer of wealth from the working class to the rich in the US is policy. The US government offering little to no public housing as human beings with nowhere to go line the streets of every city, and then opting to instead send in police to destroy their belongings and push them out of the area, literally kicking the can down the road, is policy. All of this is to say that Halloween candy is really not the best way to teach kids the difference between socialism and capitalism. If we actually want kids to understand these ideologies, we should tell them the truth about them in school. Admittedly, I was never great at paying attention in school, but as far as I can remember, our lessons on socialism and communism were laughably oversimplified and probably not even accurate most of the time. First of all, we need to throw out the idea that socialism and authoritarianism are synonymous. Same goes for capitalism and democracy, or freedom, after the US overthrew based Chad Democratic Socialist leader Salvador Allende in Chile. we installed Augusto Pinochet, fascist dictator and, say it with me, capitalist. The U.S. also played a large role in the military coup that ousted Evo Morales, president of Bolivia, from the Movement for Socialism party in 2019, at which point the authoritarian neoliberal capitalist Janine Áñez became interim president because everyone above her in the line of succession resigned. By the way, about a year ago, Luis Arce, also from the Movement for Socialism, won the Bolivian presidential election. So Áñez can eat our collective shorts. Need I mention Mussolini and Hitler, who, contrary to popular belief, were not socialists? Or the business plot, a consortium of business leaders in 1933, including Prescott Bush, father of President George H.W. Bush and grandfather of President George W. Bush, who planned a coup to overthrow FDR and install a fascist dictator because they didn't like his mild social democratic reforms. Or the numerous fascist and genocidal actions of the U.S. government under multiple presidents over the past 245 years. But beyond the existence of capitalist authoritarianism, it would be nice if schools could teach kids more about communism than communism is when everybody gets the same. This is so not true, even in the idealized, hypothetical, fully realized version of communism. And the thing is, I remember learning the term from each according to his ability to each according to his need. So how do you say that and then say communism is when everyone gets the same? But all of that aside, the overarching problem here is the idea that socialism, and capitalism for that matter, is something that an individual does, rather than a way of organizing society and distributing resources. It's not really possible for a guy to demonstrate the differences between socialism and capitalism while sitting on his front lawn. Certainly not with such a simple model. Again, he bought large and small candy, gave it all away, then presented that act as an explanation of both systems. And no hate, again, try not to be a dick, but it's just, it's too simple. It's just candy and then other candy. I'm a socialist, but that doesn't mean anything I do will be a socialist action. For one thing, I live in a capitalist country. I work for a corporation. I mostly use products from companies owned by capitalists. You know, if I start a business, I can maybe make it a worker co-op so it aligns more with my socialist values. I can give money to homeless people because I don't think they deserve to suffer. I can go out and advocate for my beliefs. But none of those things change the system we're living under. They're nice things to do, and I try to do them when I can, but no amount of good deeds can undo the ongoing damage done by capitalism. And before you say it, no, these facts of life do not make me a capitalist. First of all, participating in capitalism is not voluntary, and I'm not going to have that debate if anyone brings it up because it's not worth any time beyond the end of this sentence. Also, participating in capitalism doesn't make you a capitalist. Capitalists are people with capital, aka money. Enough money that they can throw it around on different business ventures and still get bailed out by the government if they fail. I am not one of these people, and odds are neither are you. You're probably a worker like me. Maybe a little better off, maybe worse off. But the capitalists don't care about that. They'd sell out any of us to make another dollar. Don't fight their battles for them. Also, stop trying to explain economics with random pictures of food. It's not working. Thanks for watching. Once again, if you enjoy my stuff, subscribe, give us a like, and consider supporting on Patreon. Bye now.